Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Fantasy Fullback Dive, brought to you by the good people at the Roto Street Journal. We're acting as your lead blocker to fantasy glory, fantasy excellence, fantasy championships, fantasy trophies, all your fantasies. That's us. I'm your host, Matt the Truth Jones. With me, as always, the Wolf of Roto Street himself. I don't know about you, Wolf. I have a ton riding on this game tonight, personally. Like, this is the most I've had on a Monday night game all year, probably.
Oh, best of luck. I hope you get it. I'm actually sitting nice and comfortable. Got my win already. Feeling fantastic. I actually mainly got the win, but I think I'm going to go 7-0 this week, which has not happened in a while. I've had a couple 5-2s, maybe even a 6-1 this season. Last week was a 1-6, which was just the most depressing feeling. But this is a great week. This is one of the best fantasy weeks I think I've ever had. Unbelievable.
That's great. Yeah, I've had a miserable week in the sense that it's just been a slow trickle. Like, you know, my guys not doing much. Then I had McCaffrey come back. That was nice. He produced points, and I thought he looked pretty good doing it. And then I had the nice little surprise of Darrell Williams becoming like the best player in the NFL for a game. That was nice. And now I'm down like 50 points, but I have Stafford, Kupp, Higbee, and Eli Mitchell going tonight.
And Mitchell too. I knew you had the Rams stack. I forgot you had Mitchell on the other side.
Yeah.
You should be feeling pretty good.
I'm supposed to win. It always makes me nervous when I've got it all wrapped up in one team, basically, because, if I win, I'm probably going to win big. But if all of a sudden it's one of these games where the Rams score 10 points or something, then I'm going to lose, and it's going to really, really suck. So
yeah, I think you're golden unless there was an injury to and again, knock on wood, not that anyone would ever root for that. That would be really the only thing that would destroy you is like the unthinkable to Kupp or something to that.
Yeah, and hopefully that won't happen. So anyway, keeping my fingers crossed. It should be good. I'm looking forward to the game. San Francisco has not been much lately. We'll see what happens. Jimmy G is actually the guy that I picked up to replace Stafford when he's on bye next week. So I don't know. I'm kind of low-key secret pulling for him to do okay.
Crazy stat. The last 2 weeks, Jimmy G is the top scoring quarterback in fantasy the past 2 weeks. How nuts is that? I would never have guessed it. And our boy Field Yates tweeted that one out today. Oh, wow. Interesting stuff. I saw that. You heard our fantasy situation, Wolfpack. Let us know in the comments. What do you need tonight? We'll give you our blessing, the blessing of the wolf and truth. What gets better than that? So let us know what you need. Certainly, if you have questions, do I play this guy or not? Go for it. Let us know in the comments as well. And we're going to cover some just quick fantasy notes, right? Real quick about Monday Night Football.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into it. You want to start with, there's one obvious guy to talk about if we're being honest here. Odell Beckham, who comes into the Rams and who the Wolf and I were both kind of critical of that signing when it happened. And then the next day, Robert Woods tears his ACL in practice and is out for the year. And OBJ is starting in Woods' spot. They say they have, quote unquote, a package of plays prepared for him, whatever the hell that means. But the guy he's essentially going to be Robert Woods in this lineup, and we'll see what happens. What do you think? Are you starting to get a little gassed up on OBJ?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think tonight, could he have, he's the type of player that needs one play to be equal to his value. That could happen any given time. I wouldn't expect that tonight if you're facing him or whether you're, thinking, do I put this guy in? Man, you'd have to be pretty desperate. I'd rather have Van Jefferson in there tonight. He knows the offense. He's been around. I think he's going to see the biggest role upgrade. I think they even said some Ben Skonowski or something like that. How do you pronounce dude's name? Skonowski? Skornick?
Ben Skowronek.
Skowronek. That's what it is. Okay. He's taking the starting place. He's playing the slot packages, at least to start. But are you really going to keep Ben Skowronek in there if you have Odell Beckham just sitting there waiting in the wings? It is kind of, I saw a funny tweet where someone tweeted out OBJ's dad with the candlestick in the locker room did it. It's kind of scary the fact that he got there on Friday and then that day in practice, Robert Woods tore his ACL. Just probably an unfortunate, incident, but maybe a sign of things. Let's not get too greedy here, McVay. Who knows? But I think long term, how could it not be exciting? You have Stafford, the best QB he's played with by far. You have, Sean McVay, the most creative mind by far that he's ever played under too. It could go as long as Odell's a whole lot better than what he was showing in Cleveland. And I do think a lot of that was on Baker Mayfield and not himself. It's gonna work out quite well here. I'm looking forward to it. It's one of the most intriguing things. I did want to add too, Nat, 2 stashes ahead of time. I always like to toss these out there on Monday Night Football for anybody tuned in early. If you have bench trash, in my case, my example is Benjamin, somebody I was picking up a lot, just didn't do jack shit. No need to keep this guy on rosters, in my opinion. Why not go pick up, who I'm going to, Jeff Wilson ahead of the game.
I know exactly where you're going. Right.
Michael Hasty is out. So this guy's going to play the third down role, first snaps of 2021. Let's see what juice the guy has. If he's awful and plotting all over the field, you can just cut him tomorrow anyways. The other guy that's out there in nearly 70% of leagues is also Sony Michel. Again, God forsaken, if something happens to Darrell Henderson, one of the top RB1s of the year right now, I think Sony would walk himself right into a low-end 1, high-end 2, not because Sony's anything special, but because this offense is so damn good. So why not save yourself if something happened to Henderson and Sony's out there, people would play $90, however much fab they have left to go get this guy, and they would deserve to. Why not get ahead of time if you have something? In fact, between those two, I have to decide. They're both sitting out there in my league, Jeff Wilson and Sony. Who would you rather own?
I'm a little bit prejudiced against Jeff Wilson because of what he did last week. I'm not going to lie.
Should be, right?
And I know that's not fair. Let me ask you this. So I probably am not going to be able to pick anybody up because I don't think I can drop somebody that's already played, in order to pick somebody up. So
in Yahoo, you can. In ESPN, you often can't. I'm in
ESPN, yes.
Yeah.
But let me ask you, it's too bad because I could pick Wilson up right now. And I'd love to drop Alex Collins, for instance.
I would. Yeah, why not?
Okay, but I don't think I can. So maybe we'll see what happens.
Right. At this point, Collins, what's the upside? Carson's coming back probably next week. And even when he's not there,
even Carson,
5 points. It's useless.
Even Carson, how excited are we for him even? Right?
I know. Yeah. I think we'll talk about that attack in a little bit, but man, that was ugly. I imagine they'll get it back together, but we will see, no doubt about it.
All right, guys, give us a like, give us a share of love or heart or whatever currency your platform deals with. We're going to get right into quarterbacks, and then we are going to go all the way up to kickoff. Obviously, we're going to answer all your mailbag questions, so keep them coming. Small mailbag right now, but it always grows as the episode goes on, so hit them with whatever you got. Give it to us. All right, quarterbacks, obvious guy to talk about. This is a guy that the Wolf had as his QB 10 this week, and I was like, I don't know, man. I think that's kind of too high. Experts had him at 5. Well, yesterday, Pat Mahomes, 35 of 50 for 406 yards and 5 touchdowns in their Week 10 win over the Raiders. Probably could have gotten more than that if he had wanted to. Took their foot off the gas a little bit at the very end. The Chiefs looked like the Chiefs, and Mahomes looked like Mahomes, right?
100%. 10 drives. They scored on 7 of them. And one of the times they didn't score was a missed field goal. The other time was kneel downs at the end of the game. So really only one drive that failed to end in at least a point scoring opportunity when they had the gas down there. It looked great. It looked like his weapons. I know Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill have both been dealing with injuries. And I think that kind of went under the radar a little bit. Even on our end, we didn't really talk much about how, when you only have 2 good weapons and 2 of them are both banged up, maybe that is going to impact you. But those guys were flying all over the field, in particular, Travis Kelce, looking as healthy as he's looked in weeks. It just looked like – and Mahomes is certainly one of those guys that as soon as he's back, it's like, yep, he's back. We don't really need to doubt this one. Interesting to note, too, not really on the football field side of things, but his brother, Jackson Mahomes, was not in attendance. His first good game in a long time came with Jackson Mahomes not there. Maybe he needs to cut his family off a little bit more. We'll see. Another intriguing performance was Cam Newton, who didn't even start at QB, yet still was able to finish with 2 rushing touchdowns. I'm sure as a CMAC owner, you love to see that because the guy still had 25 fantasy points, Christian McCaffrey, even without scoring touchdowns.
Yep,
but you had to be frothing at the mouth, being like, damn it, is this going to keep happening? And
I'm being totally real with you. I was so happy to see him getting the usage and getting the plays. I was not even mad that he didn't get in the end zone. He did almost get in a couple times, but he scored me 26 PPR points.
That's insane. Only Najee Harris has also done that this year without a touchdown, topped 25 fantasy points. That's just those 2 bell cows. It's absolutely what happens. Just to remind you guys too, though, Cam Newton's upside, even when he's been bad in real life, quarterback 4, quarterback 2, quarterback 9, quarterback 1, QB 17, a bad year.
I think that was the year that we took him in our high money league.
100%, right? Of course. So that was our bad. QB 12, and then his other only bad performance was QB 16 last year with the Pats. And we look at that with weapons, that offense, just hideous all around. So this guy has been top 12 in all but 2 seasons, like 80% hit rate in the top 12 right there. And that's just the rushing upside that we continue to hint at. You saw it already this week with 2 rushing touchdowns. Let's just remind you, Sam Darnold had the NFL lead in rushing touchdowns at one point this year. They love that zone option read. We haven't seen Cam Newton in this Joe Brady offense. I think he's going to do some really great things with his legs. I'd be scrambling. If I'm QB needy, I'd pay whatever I need to go get this guy. I think you're going to get a nice top 12 quarterback the rest of the way.
I agree with you 100%. And he's, McCaffrey's such a security blanket for a guy like that, especially for a guy with challenged arm that, you'd like to see him throwing short. That, I don't know. It seems like a great fit potentially. All right.
Yep.
We're going to get into the Seahawks. I know we're on quarterbacks, but I'm actually going to touch on Russell Wilson and a couple of his receivers. Russell Wilson, very hyped comeback this week. Oh, when Russell Wilson gets back, look out. Well, the Seahawks got 0 points. They were shut out. Russell Wilson, 20 out of 40 for $161 and 2 picks. He also had 32 yards on the ground. Who gives a shit? He had a 43.7 passer rating, which is like, I want to say Geno Smith-esque, but he never did that bad.
No.
And let's look at his weapons. We're saying Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, their value is going to explode when Russell Wilson gets back. Well, Tyler Lockett got targeted 8 times. He caught 2 balls, 23 yards. DK Metcalf also got targeted 8 times, caught 3 balls, 26 yards, got in a fight, got ejected. What a terrible, terrible performance for the Seahawks. Just awful. I mean, one of the worst I've seen all year, honestly.
I honestly don't know what else you can say about it. It's the lowest he's had, Russell Wilson, since 2016. And I'm just trying to say, when was he worse than this? It's certainly by the eyeball test, the worst game he's ever had. Maybe he got hurt in a game or something in 2016, but apparently he had one fewer fantasy point a few years ago. This was as abysmal as you can ask for. You got to hope it was just shaking off some rust, and it's not like the finger isn't truly ready and he's coming back too early. Certainly you can't trust the guy in your fantasy lineups moving forward, and you got to take a big hit out of DK and Tyler Lockett on the rest of the season big board. For now, similar to Pat Mahomes, as soon as we see it, if we see it again from Russ, I can immediately adjust, but that looked like a performance that I don't know that we'll see good Russ yet again. So that's definitely something that I was highly concerned about.
Who was worse this week, Russell Wilson or Matt Ryan?
Oh God, Matt Ryan was just atrocious. That was really, really bad.
He had zero fantasy
points. So fantasy points wise, he was even worse. He was worse.
Okay,
he has no excuse. He was facing a bad Dallas secondary. He's at least been playing. I guess you could give Russ the rustiness excuse. I don't know. That was just a horrible performance all around. It's up to this point that it's similar to 909 Orbits. If you're tuned in here, brother, good to see you. My Holy Cross League, I streamed Tyrod. Then I cannot get it right. Matt Ryan. I was so pumped. Finally, I got a guy. Well, at least get me 12. No, 2. So I'm the curse.
Dude, in my league, he got 0. I mean, I don't know what the scoring was different, but yeah, he got 0.
Absolutely pathetic. You might want to turn instead to Mac Jones. Real life wise, and I was at the game. Unbelievable time. Fantastic game. And fantastic effort from Mac Jones, who looks like he could truly be the best QB of this class. He certainly is by all metrics right now. He's now the highest graded QB since week 5 in the entire NFL, not just among rookies. 91.2, highest graded rookie QB since 2014. He had a 95.8 PFF grade in 2020 coming out. So it looks like he's really translating to everything PFF was grading him out to be. 83% completion rate, 198 yards and 3 TDs. I guess that's the one rub fantasy-wise is even as perfect as he was, he didn't even cross 200 yards because he didn't need to. He was just so damn dominant, as was this team. If we're just talking about NFL rises, the Patriots these last couple of weeks, we were talking right before we went on air, who in the AFC actually scares us to the point that they can't be a Super Bowl team. I don't have anyone on my list that's the Pats can't beat that team.
Right. I agree completely. And,
those Bills games coming up will be very, very telling.
They're 2 of them, right? They got 2 in December.
2 matchups. Yep. It's going to be wild.
Jalen Hurts looked really solid. 16 out of 23 for $178, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. He rushed 14 times, 53 yards. That's that Konami upside we always talk about. Tacking 5 or 6 points onto your total helps a lot. Philly won 30-13 week 10 over the Broncos, who have been woefully inconsistent. And honestly, I kind of secretly just think aren't that good. He did have 2 touchdowns to Javonte Smith. Is that right? In the first half? You said that you picked him in your daily fantasy and he didn't do much. That's something.
Oh, no, not Devonta Smith. I had DK Metcalf, who did absolutely nothing. I wish I had Devonta.
I thought you said you had both. Okay. Yeah.
No,
anyway, Devonta Smith was pretty good. No. Anyway, Hurts, so here we go. He has 14 career starts, right? And, he's relatively young career. QB11, QB1, QB12, QB20 and 3/4, QB5, QB10, QB10, QB4, QB11, QB7, QB6, QB24, QB12, QB7, and that's current. That's courtesy of Ian Hartitz, friend of the website, friend of the podcast, just friend in general. The guy, he's a legit starting fantasy quarterback. He's had a couple times that he's dipped down below what you would want, but he's also had some weeks where he's like right at the top or at the top.
That was 14 games you rallied off that. He's been top 12 in 12 of those 14 games. That's an 86% hit rate. So he's really only dead. There's no quarterback that's been that.
Yeah, he's been top 6, I think 6 times.
Exactly right. So the good ceiling, great floor. I know it doesn't feel right because again, it's not that great of a player, but 50 rush yards in 4 straight games. It's just that Konami upside. It continues to get it done. And just touching upon the Eagles in general, maybe we could just get to the running backs, but these last 3 games, you can clearly see this shift in offensive focus to the running back, but it still is helping out Jalen Hurts because he's running a ton himself. They now have 3.2 points per drive. That's first in the NFL across their last 3 games. 84.6 QBR, first. 208 rushing yards per game, first. 22 10-yard rushes, first. 54% third down percentage, first. 62% drive score percentage, first. Like every efficiency metric, they're checking all the boxes. 51% success rate, 42.5 yards per drive, first. 79.8 efficiency for everything. Everything is checking all the boxes. This team is starting to really click. Given this whole new offensive philosophy, Miles Sanders should be back. I don't know. Maybe they could make some noise down there at the bottom of the NFC. They're playing really well since they've got this new offensive identity. It's very intriguing. A guy who's not playing really well, or at least not at a consistency level, is Justin Herbert, who one week will look like the next great phenom that's going to take over the league. The other week doesn't do so much. This was one of the certainly bad outings there. 195 yards, 1 TD, and a pick, and a 27-20 loss to the Vikings. Just a bad team loss, bad performance from him. He is now, credit to late round QB JJ Zacharyson. Herbert's been under 15 fantasy points more than he's scored above 15 fantasy points. That's sketchy. That is and I know the booms above 15 have been often pretty big, but that's not a guy that you want to routinely rely on that gets this kind of set and forget notion about him. Not the case at all so far this year.
Agreed. And disappointing. I mean, obviously it's very, very adversely affecting like Mike Williams, for instance.
Oh,
doing great for me. Maybe not even a guy you should be starting anymore. We'll talk about him later. Tua, last quarterback we're going to touch on. He did not start on Thursday. He had that finger issue. He was inserted into the lineup after Jacoby Brissett went down with an injury. Brissett was moving around on the sidelines, stuff like that. Almost seemed like he kind of wanted to go back in. They didn't go back in with him. Tua played okay, 12 yards and change per attempt, and they did win the game. To me, the bigger story here, can you believe the Ravens lost to this dumpster fire of a team?
What an absolutely abysmal performance from the Ravens. The only shining spotlight there was our guy, Rashad Bateman, who we had probably times 1,000, way too much on Thursday night. But
he did pretty well.
To pull it out for its 14 PPR leagues. But yeah, that was ugly, man. Like I just looked like Lamar Jackson could never get started against the Dolphins, who have been abysmal on defense.
The Dolphins, they looked like the freaking 85 Bears. They were just crashing through the line. It's like, I mean, how many times did he get sacked? He's hard to sack.
Exactly.
He got a bunch of times.
Yeah. The NFL is such a fucking weird league this year.
Yeah.
As soon as you think you got a team that's like we were talking about, the Ravens, probably one of the top teams. We know the road's going to go through them in the AFC, right? Well, maybe not. That whole division's a cluster. Fucking
both
Steelers
times that
the Lions,
both times the Steelers tying the line. Both times I've talked myself into thinking the Rams were the best team in the NFL this year. They've lost the following week, which is why like I'm a little bit apprehensive about this game tonight.
And we're talking about the Titans right now. Is like they've beat 5 straight playoff teams in a row. They're looking solid.
Yeah, but do you believe in the Titans, really?
Not at all.
I don't believe in the Titans.
Not without Derrick Henry, at least. If they get him back for the playoffs, then maybe damn okay. They can make some noise. But no, I'm not I would give it to. They lost to the Jets. Like, come on.
Yeah, I don't
lose to the Jets. I'm not worried about.
I don't believe in the Titans at all. I mean, look, at the end of the year when they're 15-2, and I bet against them all through the playoffs, and they end up winning the Super Bowl, I'll be like, well, damn, I guess I should have seen that coming. But I just don't believe it.
Absolutely. We'll move on to running backs here, folks. But if you can and you haven't already, please consider giving us that thumbs up. It really does help us get out to more people, continues to grow the pack. You guys have been awesome about that throughout shows. We usually get 40, 50 likes on these. It's awesome. We continue to grow as we rip through this usage, all that good stuff to help you learn what you need to learn. One of the biggest risers of this week is certainly going to be AJ Dillon. It looked like it could be a whole lot like season ending potentially for Aaron Jones, but we got some news on that front. Let's start with Dillon. You saw 21 carries for 66 yards, 58 coming before contact. So great blocking on that front. Didn't make a whole lot happen after. That's typically not true of him. He's usually a beast churning yards after the contact, but not quite this game. He did also have 2 receptions. This is where he really was churning it, 62 yards, and then had 2 touchdowns as well. So a beastly performance from him as the de facto feature back because Aaron Jones left with what's now deemed a mild MCL sprain. They're saying he's going to be out 1 to 2 weeks. My guess is with a week 13 bye, they just hold him out these next 2, get the bye week, and then you'll see him again in week 14. But Dillon, anyways, had been a much bigger part of this usage. He had, a bunch of receiving work, 4 catches on 4 targets the week before. He already was kind of sneaking into those opportunities, making it close to a 50-50. Now you're going to get the every down roll by him. And then when Jones comes back, I can't imagine it might stay that 50-50 split at best for Jones. Definitely a big downgrade for Jones being hurt here. Big stock up for AJ Dillon moving forward.
All right, we mentioned the Titans. Let's talk about their backfield. Talk about a backfield I don't want anything to do with at all. I don't care if they are 8-2. DOnta Foreman, 11 rushes, 30 yards. He had 2 targets. He got 48 yards on that. That's okay. And they talked about, he's the most explosive of the backs. Like he's the 100%. One of these 3. Yeah, but he rushed 11 times for 30 yards. So I mean,
not that good, right? Exactly.
Right. It's not that explosive. Adrian Peterson rushed 8 times for 21 yards. But he was getting like the red zone work. That was like on purpose. He was coming into the game when they were in the red zone. He had 9 touches on the game. 3 of them were in the red zone. And then you got Jeremy McNichols, who rushed 4 times for 7 yards. These are 3 really terrible rushing.
Yes.
And they won. They beat the Saints, who were like not bad. And he also caught 1 out of 3 targets for 1 yard. I mean, get me as far away from any of these people as you can. Obviously, Foreman is the guy you want if you're going to get one. But, man, no.
Right. That's kind of how I feel. Foreman is only 4% rostered. So if you're looking and desperate for running back health, they've had 2 hard matchups since Henry went down. The schedule does get a little bit softer for these next few weeks. So should Foreman, who had about 48% rather, of the carries this past week, if he continues to get about 50 or keeps climbing, because he is, as you said, the most explosive with his like 3.0 yards per carry, very explosive, but still by far showing the most juice, he could end up doing some damage. Worth a waiver wire stab this week in deeper leagues, given that he's pretty widely available. What was great this week, Rhamondre Stevenson for the Pats. Again, being there, watching this guy rumble every time, he just churning the legs forward, looking fantastic, going for 100 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns this last week. Unbelievable. In fact, I tweeted right before the game, Rhamondre is going for 2 today, and he sure did. So that was awesome. Hopefully you guys benefited from that when he was only 4,500 on DraftKings. He saw 25 of the Week 10 RB opportunities compared to 6 for Bolden, 6 for J.J. Taylor. He had 70% of the running back rushes, a 20% target share. We've only seen since 2011 4 other running backs hit those type of metrics, both 20% and 69% or higher of the carries. 20% of the target share. So this was as close to a feature back as you will ever see under Bill Belichick, and he sure didn't do anything to disappoint. I wonder what it means for Damian Harris moving forward, because Stevenson really, really, really looked fantastic. Remember at the quarter season mark, I think I said he was my guy that was going to potentially win leagues, Rhamondre Stevenson.
Yeah.
If he does this moving forward, he certainly is going to come to fruition for that.
Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon for the Broncos split touches out of the backfield. Speaking of another group that I just don't really want anything to do with, even though they're both talented. They each got 10 touches. Javonte went 8 rushes for 48. So 6 yards a clip. Not bad. 2 out of 3 targets for 1 yard. That's nothing. Gordon, 9 rushes for 45 yards, 5 yards a clip. Also not bad. He scored a touchdown. He hauled in 1 out of 4 targets for a whopping -2 yards. Perhaps most importantly, he did cough up the ball, which I think resulted in an 83-yard touchdown run back for the Eagles. So that was obviously pretty damaging. You got guys getting 10 touches a game. I mean, first of all, that's not a ton, and they're splitting. I don't know, man. I'm keeping away from each of these guys unless I'm desperate. Yeah,
it's just I'm looking for signs of this thing finally turning. Javonte had a 20-yard touchdown called back on a holding penalty. I was watching it freaking out because I started him yesterday and
Yeah.
it just didn't end up coming through. But we did see Williams outsnap Gordon 33-25. It's only the second time he's outsnapped him. He also ran more routes, 22-15. You wonder if that fumble comes into play. And after this bye week, we see a little bit of uptick for Javonte. I'm holding strong where I have him, and I'm trying to sneaky buy in because I do think this stretch run could go huge for him. A guy that did not have any workload questions. That's DeAndre Swift.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Maybe the single biggest usage bump we've seen this year. Dan Campbell takes over play calling duties. And what does he do with his featured back? 33 carries. Holy hell. He also had 130 yards on the ground, 93 yards of them coming after contact, 3 receptions for only 5 yards. Kind of weird that he didn't do his damage through the air, but that was 93% snap share, 24% target share, even without that much total production from it. We haven't seen, only Derrick Henry has topped that 30 carry mark, and DeAndre Swift just did it again in Dan Campbell's first game, a 91% route share as well. Yes, we got to mention, I guess, that Jamal Williams was out. Of course, that's played somewhat of a factor, but still, this was like beyond feature back usage. This was just psychotic usage, and I can't imagine that just disappears even if Williams comes back. Great performance here.
Mark Ingram in his return to the Saints, 87.5% of the New Orleans running back rushes and over a 20% target share. This is without Alvin Kamara. True definition of bell cow. And according to JJ Zachariason, who I never can pronounce his name right, Kamara has only actually reached either of those thresholds twice this year. Ingram had 14 rushes for 47 yards and 1 touchdown. He had 4 catches on 7 targets for 61 yards. Not a bad game at all. Sign of things to come. When Kamara comes back, is there going to be serious cheese nibbling going on?
I think it's going to be a lot of cheese nibbling going on for sure. So a little bit of a hit to Kamara here and a little bit of boost to Ingram in the sense of, yeah, he has the handcuff with benefits upside, especially now that we know if Kamara misses time, Ingram's going to be an absolute definite bell cow. That wasn't a guarantee given he's older, given this is like a Simeon-led offense. Is he really going to have value? Oh, well, he had over 20 fantasy points in PPR leagues. Very, very solid value. And just moving forward, to expect that if Kamara misses time. That's just good. Now Ingram is like on your can't cut list because you know this type of game is within his realm of possibility. Fournette, it wasn't ultimately all that inspiring stats. 11 rushes, 47 yards, 8 catches for 45. Pretty nice there. The fact that he saw 27.3% target share and 91.7% running back rushing share was just incredible, though. It is bell cow to the fullest. We saw Rojo get in for 1 snap, 1 touch. This is the Fournette show, and one of the best offenses in the league. He's been one of the best picks you could have made, and it's going to continue to be that way rest of season.
Najee Harris, this is a guy who's a definition of a bell cow. 26 carries, 105 yards, 6 avoided tackles, 4 receptions, 28 receiving yards. There's all sorts of stats comparing him to Swift because we just spent a bunch of time on Swift. Which of these stats here is your favorite or jumps out to you in the strongest way?
Yeah, this was our dynasty guy, Mike Pro Scout Lou, who came on the pod this summer. I think what he was really trying to illustrate here is Najee and Swift are like hand in hand in terms of their receiving outputs. In fact, Najee has a better PFF receiving grade than DeAndre Swift, but they get compared like, oh no, this plotter Najee Harris, he's so inefficient with his volume, he's useless, he's just a matter of touches. And it's not the case at all. Efficiency-wise, he's been as good, if not better, than DeAndre Swift, the darling of the dynasty community. So I think I like what Mike did here was he's trying to paint this picture that these guys are not that far off. If, in fact, Najee might even be better from an efficiency standpoint, and everyone just kind of is like, nope, volume plotter, that's it. And I don't know why this narrative exists. It never has been the case for Najee, and people still tend to try to drive that narrative. I don't get it.
No, he's
don't
great.
know why. You won't have anybody driving a negative narrative on this guy, though. Jonathan Taylor. Good Lord, is this man just an absolute monster. His 7th straight top 10 PPR performance, 116 total yards and another TD. More importantly, 6 catches, only went for 10 yards, but nice to see that type of involvement. Yeah. He played 84% of the snaps. He hadn't seen above 60% this year. That was huge. Goodbye, Nyheim Hines, not even involved. 80% of the running back touches, 8 targets, 23.5% target share. All of these were either highs or second highs on the season. Certainly, again, the snaps. That's what you just love to see is in almost every down player for one of the best talents in the league. Love to see it. Wheels up, Jonathan Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor's great. There was some talk on RSJ group text, people talking about him being better than Derrick Henry. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's pump the brakes, CJ. Let's pump the brakes, Duck. No, I mean, Derrick Henry's got a broken foot, so maybe now, but
I was going to say, like, moving forward, okay, but yeah, entering the year, no, not even close.
No. Antonio Gibson, 24 carries, 64 yards, 2 touchdowns. That included 7 first downs, also had 2 catches for 14. I'm still surprised this guy doesn't get more catches just in general, but he has been struggling with this shin injury for a while. And I mean, 24 carries, lots and lots and lots of touches for this guy. It seems like he's back to where we kind of thought he was going to be, like way back in the day. I don't know. Encouraged?
I'm encouraged. Yeah, absolutely. 26 opportunities, nothing to sneeze at. But this also was his first top 12 running back 1 performance of the season. It came against the Bucs. Like, who could have seen this coming? It looked like it was going to be a negative game script all day. They were up all game. That was shocking. 63% of the snaps is highest since week 1. That was nice. 37% of routes, good to see. Highest since week 5. And then 24 of the 30 carries was a season high. In fact, that's actually a career high on carries. All very encouraging for sure. To be honest, though, I would be taking those stats and telling everyone in my league if I own Gibson and try to see what I could get for this guy. I don't know that his value is going to get any higher than it was today. Maybe it was a signal like, yeah, this is going to be our guy the rest of the year, and he's an absolute league winner down the stretch. That is potentially what could happen. I would be hammering my sell button as hard as I could right now and seeing if I could get something from him. We'll see. Who I would not be selling, though, is your boy, Christian McCaffrey. 13 carries, 95 yards, 4.1 yards after contact per carry. Just an insane stat. But more importantly, right back to that receiving just absolute alpha. 10 catches, 66 yards. Whew. He is now in tough matchups against the Cardinals, who are giving up the 5th fewest points to running backs, and Patriots, who are right there in the top 20. Like the bottom 20. So they're very good at defending the back position. 27 carries, 147 rushing, 14 catches, 120 on 15 targets across his last 2 weeks. And one of those weeks was like a 50% snap rate. This was the back to every down type of player. I mean, Chuba, it was annoying too. Is Chuba scored a touchdown. Cam stole 2. This guy still put up 25 fantasy points. So that just again tells you how insane the floor is. But it would be nice to see one of those. Like, you wouldn't be sweating at all right now if you had 2 of those 3 touchdowns that got vultured from him. But man, it was awesome to see.
No doubt, but I still felt good about it. Another guy, you talk about McCaffrey being my boy. My other boy is Darrell Williams. This is a guy that not too long ago you were dumping on, Wolf. And I love Darrell. And let me tell you, I love Darrell even more now than I used to. 11 rushes, 43 yards. 9 catches on 9 targets for a $101 and a touchdown. And that touchdown was like a wide receiver catch. That was no joke at all. I want to know why first of all, CEH, I know I said this last week. I know I said this on Thursday. Williams seems objectively better than him to me. And I also, on top of that, I don't understand why Jerick McKinnon is coming down as this like specialty pass catching back. He caught 9 balls on 9 targets. He can catch, obviously. Why are we bringing in Jerick? I'm made of glass McKinnon.
I don't know. It's clear Williams is by far their best engine. Even that includes CEH at this point. Just mentioning CEH. So what Williams did, 9 catches, 101 and a TD, as you said. Clyde Edwards has never had 80 or more receiving yards. He's never had 8+ receptions. He's only been 14+ PPR in 3 games in his career, and never in 3 straight games like we just saw from Darrell Williams. And Clyde Edwards has never seen 25 fantasy points in a single game. He's never really been that good. And Darrell Williams has been a high-end RB2, low-end RB1, and even this week a high-end PPR RB1. Like, there is just that possibility. They're saying Hilaire has a pretty good chance to play. That is going to – I mean, I can't imagine that he doesn't get work. It's their first down.
I agree.
Round pick. Probably going to be the end of anyone being meaningful or consistent there. But what a fun ride it's been. And maybe, just maybe, they're like, let's just ride it out with Darrell, because if they do, you got yourself a potential season winner down the stretch. He's been much, much better than I would have ever expected. Yep. A couple messy backfields. I'll just hit them both real quick, as the Eagles, Boston Scott, did go for 81 yards on 11 carries, 24 yards through the air, so a nice bounce-back performance. He did get the start as well, played ahead of Jordan Howard, who also had 12 carries, 83 yards. 13 going to Scott, 12 going to Howard, and then 3 going to Gainwell. He clearly has been the odd man out for 3 straight weeks. I don't know why anybody would be rostering this guy at this point, but just to reiterate, cut Gainwell. I do wonder what happens to Howard and Boston Scott once Miles Sanders is back. One of them's probably going to have to go. My guess is it'll be Scott, but either way, it's like a great backfield in the sense that they're finally giving it a ton of volume. 3 straight weeks with over 30 backfield touches. But who knows how this goes without Sanders. I guess you can hold on to Scott and Howard, but I imagine none of those 3 are going to be all that consistent. Meanwhile, another disgusting backfield, the Bills. 8, 7, and 6 opportunities going to Singletary, Moss, and Breida, respectively. Awful. Not respectfully, just disgustingly disrespectful.
Nothing respectful
Fantasy owners. All 3 of them actually finding the end zone. Moss, 1 score, 27 yards. Singletary, 7 carries, 43 and a TD. Matt Breida scoring the most of the 3 backs with 3 carries, 28 and a TD, as well as a receiving score and 22 yards through the air. I mean, if they are consistently scoring that many touchdowns, then okay, maybe you'll get some volume. This came against the Jets. I don't think if this becomes a 3-headed nightmare, at least before it was like Moss, 60%, Singletary, 40. Now it's like 30, 30, 30. I don't want to ever try to figure this out in a matchup that's not against the Jets. Awful stuff.
No point in it. Let's talk about Mike Davis briefly, shall we? Cordarrelle Patterson, who's a guy I've been leaning on for many weeks now, he got a mid-high ankle sprain, and he left the game, came back, then didn't really end up playing at all in the second half. Wayne Gallman took over as the primary rusher, while Davis saw a, quote, slightly increased role on passing downs. Ooh. If Patterson ends up missing time, Gallman seems to be the guy you should be going for. Davis, we've been on this for a while. You should just get rid of him. I mean, I think they say he hasn't been a top 24 fantasy running back since week 2. And it would require a lot of injuries for him to get back into that alpha dog role. And as far as Patterson goes, it looks like he probably won't be playing in week 11.
Exactly. Another 1 point, like with Patterson knocked out, you'd think Davis will get something going. Another 1 point day for the guy. Just useless, pathetic. Whereas Gallman comes in, as you said, for those 15 carries. So if anybody's the ad here, it's Gallman. Cut Davis. Well, I cut him 4 weeks ago, and I have not thought second about it. In fact, I feel good about it, even better by the week.
Just real quick, before we go into wide receivers, and I hope that everybody will give us a like because we need it. Mike Davis, I keep my auction stats next to me. What everybody paid for guys in an auction at the beginning of the year. Mike Davis, $19 in the auction. Cordarrelle Patterson, not drafted, also $19, by the way. Cooper Kupp. So
I knew that was coming. I feel like every time we've talked about Davis, it's like Cooper Kupp, same price as Mike Davis. Just what a steal by you, Truth. I gotta.
No. I'm not even. Look, $19 was a great deal. I'm bashing Mike Davis much more than I'm giving myself a pat on the back for Cooper Kupp. $19 for Mike Davis. Also, Myles Gaskin went for 17.
Oh my God, Cooper. Yeah, I think you figured out the formula for auctions. Get a couple big price running backs, get your stallions, and then just pick apart the middle range, like getting the Cooper Kupps, the Deebo Samuels. Whew, what a beautiful thing.
Robert Woods went for 26, by the way.
Oh yeah, damn. But you got, I remember that because I was like, oh, I was pissed you missed on Woods, but you're like, maybe I can still get Kupp though, and I'm pumped you did. Holy hell, what a season that guy's having. We'll look forward to that tonight. MVP. We'll talk about some wide receivers here, and as the Truth said, while we get to this next position, get your questions in. Tell us what you need tonight. Tell us if you won. Tell us if you lost and someone screwed. Feel free to just use the comment as your personal therapy vent session. Mm-hmm. All good. Love questions, love comments. But of course, that thumbs up does continue to help us go. We'll start with Justin Jefferson. They said they needed to throw to him more often, and they sure did. 11 targets. He hauled in 9 of them for 143 yards, ripping 5 explosive plays off, and just looking again like one of the best young players in football. Man, I can't wait until Zimmer's gone and this guy gets an actual offensive coordinator in there.
Stephon Diggs, 8 catches for 162 yards and a touchdown. Starting to see him in a little of the same lens that we saw him last year. He won fantasy leagues for people unquestionably, especially in the championship week. I can verify that in my week. He was the difference. Stephon Diggs also saw 46% of Buffalo's targets today, and that was a high for the season. So trending up all the way.
Absolutely. Right back to that alpha status. Corey Davis, sneaky having himself a pretty good year. 5 catches, 93 yards, 3 explosive plays against one of the best defenses at limiting explosive plays. The Bills here played 65 of snaps, ran 43 routes, and saw 7 targets in his return to action. Just good to see the guys back to health. And sneaky, like I know he's had a couple duds when people have trusted him, so now he gets into every set start question. But he's been above 14 fantasy points in I think it's 4 of his 6 starts so far. That's really not too shabby, especially if Mike White continues to be the quarterback. As bad as he was this week, 4 interceptions.
Yeah, he was bad.
Horrible. But he still delivers that mail to the receivers at least. And I think Corey Davis, a nice quality wide receiver 3 moving forward for sure.
DeVonta Smith, we talked about earlier, had 4 catches for 66 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had caught all those balls in the first half. He was targeted 6 times. The guy seems like the real deal. He really does. And what's the more impressive about it to me is that Jalen Hurts doesn't really seem like he can throw very well.
No, but these past couple of weeks, I do think that shift to the run game has been huge in terms of the play action it's creating, the rollout opportunities where Smith's at his best, kind of on the run and moving, or Jalen Hurts rather. That's really opened up some huge pockets for Smith just to exploit. And at least Hurts is finally getting it under control and delivering that mail. He's now had back-to-back DeVonta Smith 20-plus fantasy point days. And I think dynasty-wise, you're getting a glimpse at like one of the next great young studs, somebody I'm going to be drafting everywhere next year when he's going like round 6 or so. He's going to be that next big breakout coming up. He already it's happening in front of our eyes as we watch it. We'll talk. We mentioned Justin Herbert and the inconsistency there. It's certainly not helping out with your receivers there unless their name is Keenan Allen. Yet another monstrous 11 targets, going for 8 catches, 98 yards. Not a huge stat line, but when you compare it to Mike Williams, who had 4 catches on 6 targets, 33 abysmal, pathetic yards. We've now seen from weeks 1 through 6, the first half of the year, Mike Williams had 56 targets. Keenan Allen had 57. Across the next 4 games, we've seen Keenan Allen get 35 targets and only 16 for Mike Williams. Just a complete disappearing act. I don't know that we can keep going back to the but only a few people have 30-point upside. The Vikings are giving up the 6th most points to receivers. If it was going to be steady and get done, it would be getting done. And Staley did say it's not the knee injury, it's a non-factor. So what the fuck is it? What's happening with Mike Williams? I don't know, but I can't trust him moving forward.
Are you starting him if you've got him? I mean, I guess obviously it depends on your options, but I mean,
if I can bench him, I want to bench him. I'm in a league where it's like him or Sutton, and we'll talk about Sutton in a second. That's not any better. I'll just go for Mike Williams.
I would go for Williams in that situation.
It's ugly though, yeah.
All right, AJ Brown and the Titans wide receivers, and by that we mean Marcus Johnson with no Julio in the game. Marcus Johnson actually ran the most routes the last time Julio Jones missed game action. He reclaimed that number 2 role last week or this week, led the Titans receiving corps in yards and targets. That's with 106 respectively. It looks like he's going to be the number 2 guy behind AJ Brown until Jones comes back from his hamstring injury. Who knows when that'll be? I mean, I know I mentioned this on Thursday. Jones's stats have just been lousy. I mean, I don't know. We give him respect because he's Julio Jones, but if you look at what he's done this season, there's no way this guy merits the attention or a start or anything like that we give him.
Not at all. And Marcus Johnson just hit this game to his last Sunday was better than anything Julio's put out there. Again, as you mentioned, over 100 yards. Julio's not hit that. 22% target share for Marcus Johnson. Julio's not hit that. And I think a lot of people freaking out about AJ Brown. 1 catch on 4 targets, 16 yards. That was abysmal. That floor exists. It is low. And I think a lot of people want to ignore it too. I'm not going to sit here and ignore that. It's scary, especially when they're just getting doubled every single play.
How are they winning games? We just spent several minutes talking about how bad all 3 of their running backs stat lines were. AJ Brown had 1 catch for 16 yards. How are they winning these games?
The defense was abysmal to start the year. They've really turned it around. But just looking at AJ Brown, he only saw 6 single coverage 13 times. He got open on over half of those, or almost half, rather, 46%, but he only got 1 target from Tannehill. He was open on 63% of his routes of 10 or more yards. He just didn't get the usage on it. So it was a bad game. For whatever reason, he only played 20% of slot snaps when that was where they're most exploitable, the Saints. It just was a weird game where he was doing okay. They just really erased him. I'm just nervous, though. We've seen this happen with a lot of players, especially at the quarterback position. If teams see a blueprint that works, they're going right into it. I wouldn't be shocked if teams just double AJ Brown and say, okay, most corners can actually take Marcus Johnson out. I don't think this Marcus Johnson guy is suddenly going to be enough to draw attention away for AJ. I don't think he's one that gets actually helped by Julio being out. I think it does hurt him for the respect that he commands.
All right, RayRay McCloud. Can we talk about RayRay McCloud for a second? 9 out of 12 targets, 9 catches on 12 targets for 63 yards. In the Steelers' Week 10, wait for it, tie with the Lions. He finished second on the Steelers in targets, second in receiving yards. I'm assuming both of that was to Deontay Johnson, who is the established alpha dog there. And he was in first in receptions. I don't know. They said the one quote that I saw about it is that he offered a running back style element to the receiving game. How do you interpret that?
I think it's a lot of like the dink and dunks, like get this guy the ball, let it go, rip it. But I also thought it was very intriguing that this happened in Chase Claypool's absence. A lot of people going to James Washington, he didn't see half the targets that RayRay McCloud saw. So if you were going to James Washington as your streaming option, you wanted to figure out who's going to be the big benefactor here. Obviously, of course, Najee, Deontay, we knew they'd get a little bit of an uptick, and they did. But it was RayRay McCloud that really did step up. And again, one of, as you were mentioning at the top, one of the worst games I think I have ever had to slug through. Just no team wanted to win it. It was just awful.
I mean, did you what chances did you think when that Lions kicker had a 48-yarder to win? Well, I was just like, there's no way. I was no way he's going to make it. I know he's a professional kicker, but there's no way he's going to make it.
No way. Way too snake bitten for sure. We wanted to mention the Cole Beasley potential injury. Only played 9 snaps today. A ribs injury. We did see Gabriel Davis go for over 100 yards with that role expanded. He's always seemed to get it done when he gets to work, one of the better deep ball threats. I wonder if we continue to see a little bit of uptick there. And I also hinted at Cortland Sutton.
Yeah, I want you to hit the Broncos receivers.
I had to hit this bag of complete and absolute utter dirt, who I have in 4 of my 6 leagues. And I think I'm going to promptly be sending to the waiver wire in 4 of 6 leagues. I mean, man, he is talented. Like, you say that, and it's like, okay, if you're that talented, you should be producing better than these numbers. He's 3rd in the league in air yards, though. Without Jerry Jeudy, he's one of the top 20 receivers, no doubt about it, in fantasy. The 3 games he's played with Jerry Jeudy, he's been the wide receiver 104 with 2.4 PPR points, wide receiver 64 with just under 6 fantasy points, and then wide receiver 71 with 3.9 fantasy points. He has been absolutely and utter abysmal every single time he's been out there with Jerry Jeudy also there. In fact, he had 5 catches for 68 yards against Cleveland in Week 7, the last game before Jeudy returned. He now has 5 games for 78 yards and the 3 games with Jeudy there. Just pathetic. The guy does nothing with Jeudy there. This was a 2 for 3 target, 29-yard day, a week after a 1-catch day. It's bad. It's hopeless. Jeudy didn't do a ton himself. 6 catches, 48 yards, 9 targets. But it's not happening for Sutton while Judy's there. For whatever reason, it completely just disappears. You can't use him anymore.
Jamal Agnew, your boy, had a weird game, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, he's a wide receiver. He went catchless on 5 targets, which is not great for him or the quarterback. But he ran 3 end-arounds. And on those 3 end-arounds, he rushed for 79 yards and a score. One of them went for 66 by itself. So that's, I don't know. It's fantasy points. If you started him, you're probably not too disappointed, right?
Yeah, it's that Cordarrelle role we're talking about. He's getting backfield work. He's getting moved around all over the place. And certainly not – I don't want to disrespect Cordarrelle Patterson, one of the best players in fantasy this year, but that's the type of role we're getting out of Agnew. It's not as explosive as a player or team, so it's not going to be quite those numbers, but still, it's interesting usage for a guy that's only 9% rostered. Guy you should cut to go get Agnew or anybody else we've talked about is McCole Hardman. No reason to be on rosters. 3 targets on a day that Pat Mahomes came back and rebounded, had a monstrous day. We saw him get 3 targets, 2 catches, 27 yards. He ran the lowest amount of routes with 82% for Tyreek Hill, 68% for Pringle, 46% for Demarcus Robinson, 40% for Josh Gordon, then down at the bottom, 34%, a lowly 34% for McCole Hardman. Meanwhile, Pringle had a touchdown and 45 yards. Could be an intriguing potential stash and dart throw. Either way, it's really just the Tyreek Hill and Kelce show here, as good as this offense can be. Neither one is really anything else other than them.
Elijah Moore, 3 catches on 6 targets, 44 yards and a touchdown. This is a guy you were really high on before the season and at various times throughout the season. This was in the Jets' humiliating Week 10 loss to the Bills. Remember, we were talking about, oh my gosh, what if the Bills struggle with the Jets? You could tell pretty early on, they're not going to struggle with the Jets.
That's not going to be the case.
Right. So anyway, he did score a 15-yard touchdown. It was deep into garbage time. Courtesy of our guy, Scott Barrett, over the last 3 weeks, Elijah Moore ranks 5th in fantasy points. Now that's while being 26th in targets and 40th in routes run. So it's not like he's up at the top of all this stuff, but he's scoring fantasy points. He has a touchdown from 3 different Jets quarterbacks, none of whom are Zach Wilson.
Exactly. Give you anybody other than Zach Wilson, and this guy's going to go get it done. But as Scott's pointing out, only 13% target share, 15% target share across those 3 weeks where he's the 5th in fantasy points. That's just insane that this guy is that good that he can be 5th on only 15% of target share. Usually you need some volume to go with it. it just goes to make you wonder if this guy got the volume, what the hell would happen? Like, he is so damn talented. It's great to see the plays being made. Certainly not making plays is Deshaun Jackson. And that one, I don't know if did you see that one play?
Yes, I saw it.
What was happening there? He like turned around and just kind of, I don't know. I can't comprehend it. The guy can't find the.
No, but I mean, I kind of feel like that play. I don't want to say it cost them the game because it ended up being a blowout, but it was not a blowout at that point. And after that, it became a blowout.
Exactly. One deep pass that he fumbled where he could have probably just kept running and maybe found the end zone, at least just go down. I have no idea. Just awful. And a guy that a lot of people were stashing ahead of the game to see what happens.
That was ridiculous.
It's time to get rid of him. He's the type of guy you have on your roster. Go pick up Jeff Wilson. Like, you could do worse than Jeff Wilson tonight, or check for Sony Michel. Something. Get yourself a little action to see if someone goes down and you get a big break there.
Travis Kelce reminding us all about when the Chiefs are the Chiefs, why he's such an amazing guy to have on your squad.
Unreal.
8 catches, 10 targets, 119 yards in their Week 10 win over the Raiders, which we just talked about. He actually tied Tyreek Hill with the most targets on the team. I mean, he looked like Travis Kelce. It's redundant for me to say much else. He looked like Travis Kelce. Mahomes looked like Mahomes. The Chiefs looked like the Chiefs. And if they're all clicking like that, he's the top tight end in the game, and it's not really a discussion.
Especially when Darren Waller, 4 catches, 7 targets, 24 yards. He's only top 12 fantasy points twice this year. He gets this huge only twice. Week 1, where you have the 19 target day.
I tried to trade for him last week. I offered Eli Mitchell for him straight up, and the guy turned me down.
You probably dodged a bullet.
Man. I know.
I have him in 3 out of 5 leagues on Yahoo. He's killing me in all of those. It was a second-round pick. Just not panning out to be anything better than, Dalton. Well, now Dalton Schultz, but still, just again, 61.8 receiving yards is like a pretty decent one, but only 2 end zone catches. 6 to 7 targets. He's really only got 1 in that 19 target game. It's kind of like skewing our memory all season. This guy has been a mediocre usage guy at best. Renfro has really taken that role over.
All right, we're going to have to hustle. It's 8 o'clock. We got to get through the rest of these tight ends. So let's talk for a minute about Dan Arnold, who is still somehow available in 74% of ESPN leagues. It really seems like he should be getting more love than that. I can't believe I'm hyping any player on the Jaguars at all, but he seems to be a guy that's maybe worth talking about. He had 5 catches, 67 yards. No other Jaguar receiver had 35 yards. Okay, this is his 3rd straight game above 60. Not bad at all for a tight end, especially not bad at all for a tight end on that shit show of a team. They say he doesn't have as much tight end or touchdown upside as a lot of the other guys, but I mean, his floor is higher because he's getting all these catches and these yards every single game. Seems like you can pencil him in for 10 or more.
Exactly. 7 targets, 20% share. Across the last 4 games since he got traded for, 3rd in targets among tight ends, 3rd in catches, 5th in tight end yards, and 8th in half PPR fantasy points. 24, 12, 19, 25, and 20% target share since Chark went down across those 5 games. Really solid stuff. A guy trending in the opposite direction is Dalton Schultz with Michael Gallup back this week. He went from a 20% target share with Gallup out to a 6% target share with Gallup back in. It's a 1-game sample, so we can't just automatically say this is how things go. But certainly talent-wise, if you have a Gallup on the field, he is head and shoulders above Dalton Schultz as a player. I don't think this is just a 1-week thing. I'm worried about Dalton Schultz moving forward.
Tyler Conklin, who was a big, sexy waiver pickup recently, including me. I picked him up in anticipation to the Rams being off next week. Might actually be better than Tyler Higbee. Who knows? He did have 3 catches, only for 11 yards, but he scored twice. And he ran a route 77% of the time that Kirk Cousins dropped back. And, of course, we love stats like that, right?
Absolutely. Good usage, especially around the red zone. Nothing to sneeze at. I think he's a great fill-in like you were talking about for next week. Gerald Everett, 8 catches, leading the way with those, as well as 63 yards, as well as 8 targets. All of those things, team highs, which goes to tell you just how bad of a day Russell Wilson and this offense had. But 78% route rate, quality stuff for Gerald Everett, clear-cut role, and an offense that could get a whole lot better moving forward. So worth a stash of tight end if you're needy at the position.
When we were doing the Sunday show, we would do stud of the week and dud of the week, and we would really put a crown on someone. There would have been a lot of competition for dud of the week this week. But this guy would have been one of the people we'd have been talking about, and that's TJ Hawkinson. He was targeted 1 time. He did not catch the ball. So he had 0 fantasy points, 0 real points. My buddy who has him was like, is he injured? I was like, nope.
Nope.
He's just on the Lions.
Yeah, make sure to emphasize to him he played 94% of the snaps,
94%.
not hurt at all. 81% of routes. Out there all game, just didn't do a damn thing. Horrible. Just awful.
Yep.
The number one scoring tight end of the week was Hunter Henry. 4 catches, 37 yards, 2 touchdowns. All of his catches went for either a first down or a touchdown. He has become that like safety blanket, especially in the red zone of Mac Jones. There's no Jonnu Smith. That certainly helped this last week. But Hunter Henry now has a touchdown in, I believe it's 7 of the last 9 games. He's killing it. There's only 2 games he hasn't scored on the season. It's awesome. Awesome to see this guy really developing. Him and the Mac Jones roommate narrative. We're really seeing it come to fruition.
Well, we saw what that did for Kupp and Stafford, so hopefully they can start having breakfast together or something.
Yes.
Pat Freiermuth, your guy. This is our last tight end, then we'll fly through the mailbag. He's been awesome recently. He scored 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games, but Ebron helped that out a lot, and he was back, and so they nibbled some cheese and all that stuff. He had 31 yards on 5 catches, and it took 50 pass attempts for him to get to that spot. Granted, this is all without Ben Roethlisberger. Not that Roethlisberger's been that awesome or anything like that. So I don't know how encouraged or discouraged you are about Freiermuth. One thing they're not mentioning here is he had an extremely costly fumble in that game that actually probably was the reason that they ended up tying with the Lions instead of beating them.
Yeah, that was a brutal play. Sad to see it. And sad to see him now 51% and 61% route rates with Ebron in compared to 68 and 73%. Granted, the target share hasn't been that bad. 17% with Ebron, 18% with Ebron, 20 and 22 without him. So it's not a huge difference, but that's also the difference between a touchdown and not oftentimes when a lot of those targets do come in the red zone. So just something to note there. He did eat into it. Ebron's 18 routes compared to 31 for Fry. A little bit concerning there, indeed. As you said, Nat, we now have about 40 questions. Love to see it. The mailbag getting more and more active. Let's drill it.
All right, let's get down to business. Kevin Rice says, I'm not going to make the stream tonight. I want it to be known I had 4 players over 100 yards with 0 touchdowns. If Kupp, Stafford, and Higbee somehow score 80-plus, I'm going to off myself. 80-plus seems like a lot for them. It's not impossible.
No.
I don't want you to off yourself. But.
No, we love you, Kevin. Life gets better, we promise. No, they won't get that high. And if they do, oh, man, I'm sorry.
I'll sure be happy. I mean, that's my 3 guys.
Yeah.
Eat powder. 9 and 2 in my money leagues this week. Loads of Dillon shares. I feel you, Wolf. Nice. Good job.
Yeah, that's going to really help you out, Eat Powder, to have those Dillon shares these next couple of weeks.
Mitch says, what's up, guys? Nice beating on the Browns fantasy-wise this weekend. I won across the board, and I'll bet Mitch was just like a pig in shit with that Mahomes performance.
Yeah, you must be so pumped, Mitch, to see your guy back. A good undefeated in fantasy, your real life team looking back. Nothing better than that. It's like my week too. The Pats rolling, undefeated in fantasy myself. You love to see it, Mitch. You love to see it.
It just ruins my week when I don't do well in fantasy. Like when I lost last week, I just felt wrong all week. Like I just was kind of anxious and just like not really full on depressed, but just not something just didn't seem right. Yourself. And then I realized, I was like, what's going on? And things are pretty good here. And I realized like on Wednesday, I was like, oh, it's because I lost at fantasy this week.
It's crazy.
I couldn't like tell my wife that. But,
right, exactly. Yeah, that's why. Good.
Oh,
yeah.
That's why you've been so awful to be around all week. Great. I love fantasy. I'm so glad you're doing this thing with the roast. Right. Bernard Long needs Kupp to not go off for 50. He won't get 50, but he might get
tall.
He could get 30.
Unless you have some crazy bonuses. I think you're okay, Bernard, but man, like that's of all the people in the league that could go for 50, he's probably at the top of that list.
Well, I don't know. Pat Mahomes might disagree. Yeah. Matt Feeney, I need Higbee, Michelle, and Ayuk to score less than 15 points. I can't even cheer for that. Looking to turn things around next week. Oh, I hate stuff like that. When you're just like pulling for people, like you're just like, I need this guy to not touch the ball. I need this guy to not touch the ball. It's so stressful.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. That's a tough one because ultimately, like Higbee and Michelle might only combine for 4 or 5 at most. Like those guys are nothing to sneeze at. And Ayuk all year has been a dud, but last week he's coming off over 15 himself. So I don't think you get it, Matt. But honestly, I'm not trying to give you just false hope here. You have a shot. Like those are of 3 people that could combine for 15 or less. Those 3 are names that could certainly they've combined for 15 or less many weeks this year. So you're not dead. Ayuk's just trending so well that I don't think you're going to get it, but we'll see.
It'd be nice if Jeff Wilson was one of those guys.
Yeah,
he'll get you a 0. Grind, don't stop. Great week of fantasy football. Glad to have you guys back. Love the show. Thanks, man.
Appreciate it. Grind, don't stop. It was great to see our boy Bateman go nuts on Thursday, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, nuts is relative. You
relative to the rest of the team, he kind of went nuts.
Right, exactly. What was it? 6 for 80? Nice performance.
Not bad.
Just the plays he was making, you saw just a real NFL alpha. Like he's going to be a beast.
I remember I was going against Hollywood, and we both were in agreement that he was just going to spread me.
You were all lubed up, ready.
I was waiting, and he just never came. He never came.
I'm good, man.
Yeah,
I'm okay. I don't want that.
I guess he was doing other stuff.
Yeah.
Denny Jennings. Denny Jennings needs 8 from the Rams defense. I think that is not a crazy thing to think you might get. I don't know.
You should probably get that. Yeah.
Kicking myself for dropping Cam. Yeah, but I mean, who could have?
Go get him again. Cam Newton, he'll be okay, but go get him. Yeah.
Mitch says, glad you were wrong on Mahomes and Hurts, Wolf. Yeah.
Certainly was. Not my QB predictions were off. I was pretty spot on with all my positions other than QBs this week, but I couldn't have been more off on QBs.
Troy Cohen, should I be worried about Mike Williams? Yeah. You should, Troy.
Yeah.
Try and trade for a Cooks-like type of receiver. Any chance Williams can bounce back? There's a chance Williams can bounce back, but I mean, if you look at his numbers, I don't remember if it's 4 out of the last 5 or 5 out of the last 6 games. He's been single digits and well in single digits, not like 9.8 or something. Yep. And then the other of those games, which makes this so complicated, is he had 35 points. So that's the allure. But I mean, if you're just looking at consistency, if you're a betting man, you got to think he's probably not going to come back to what he was.
No, I'm with you. I think I'd be very concerned. I remember early in the season when he had those 3 huge games to start the year, people were like, should I trade Mike Williams to get Diggs? And it was always yeah. At some point, Williams, he cannot keep this up, even if he's solid. I didn't see him downturning this bad, but there were offers like that out in leagues. It was a no-brainer. I would probably go for Cooks. You're getting at least 10 plus targets most weeks. You just don't know what you're getting from Mike Williams week to week. And I don't want to use him where I don't have him, so I'd like to get rid of him if he has any name value. Yeah.
Valanini, full PPR. I'm up 7.5 points. He has Kittle and I have Higbee. Do you think I can pull this off? Yeah. I mean, I probably like his position a little better, but if Higbee has even an okay game, you have a 7-8 point lead, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Kittle looked so damn good last week that if he does that again, you're in some trouble. But you get a touchdown from Higbee, then it's you're in really good shape. I would say 55 the Kittle team winning, 45 you Falanini. So it's right there. You got to sweat. Enjoy it.
That's exactly the odds I would give as well. Grind, don't stop. Wolf, how was the game Sunday? I had to love the fact having D'Ernest in my lineup with no Kamara.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. D'Ernest just made up for that and then some. And that was kind of the nice game for me where D'Ernest killed it. He had 20 points and I was using him. And it's damn, I'm watching him destroy my team. But we were up by so big that I could kind of just sneaky root for him the rest of the game. Okay, go get in there, D'Ernest. I loved it. I loved every second about it. That's going to be the Mac Jones. This is where he really made himself define. He's been great these last couple of weeks, but a lot of people, it's the opponents. Oh, it was this or that. There's nothing you can say other than this guy. We just watched a coming out party for who I think is going to be one of the best quarterbacks for years to come. I'm so pumped that I was there. It was amazing. It was so much fun. Thank you for asking. Grind, don't stop.
Craig Sarno, sup boys, down 22. I have Debo, Kittle, and Gay.
Yeah. I think you're in good shape. I think you're in really good shape, Craig. You should pull that one off. I'd be surprised if you don't.
909 orbits. I started Wentz. This fucking curse, man.
You have the curse. But like I said, 909, I don't know if you heard it. I shouted it out because I started Matt Ryan this week. I have a very similar league where I cannot get the quarterback right. And it started to make me rethink my streaming quarterback stance because it is a killer when you just can't get it right.
Grind, don't stop. Emmanuel Sanders is disappointed last couple of weeks. Rather have Elijah Moore for the rest of the season. What do you think?
As a talent, I love Elijah Moore. I'm just worried all this great production has come from everybody other than Zach Wilson. Are they going to keep Zach Wilson on the bench? Then okay. Then I could probably get behind it. I am worried. But yeah, I mean, bet on the young ascending talent. And if you especially need the Hail Mary, I still personally prefer E. Sanders. He was so good to start the year. I think he can get that going back again. But man, if you want to go for the trending guy, go for Moore. I'm just worried that this is not happening with his main quarterback. That's where I'm concerned.
Hey, Wolf, did you make the right decision by going with Bateman over the other 2 players? I think we did.
I sure did. Yep. I started him. Felt great. Definitely loved that.
Inceptivus wants to know, how does Elijah Mitchell and Jerry Jeudy for David Montgomery sound?
I'd rather have the Elijah Mitchell, Jerry Jeudy side. I think Eli Mitchell is as good on level with David Montgomery. So then you get a nice receiver in Jeudy who continue to trend the right way. I'd go that side, Inceptivus.
Agree. Craig Sarno says, hit that like button. Yeah, man, do it.
Thank you so much, people. We're trying to answer all your questions. That thumbs up just continues to help us grow. A good free way to help us out. And if you have a desperation question ahead of Monday night, we'll get through all the mailbag, but there's only 8 minutes. Toss us that super chat. We'll get to it first. If you want to, or if you just want to support the site, also always very appreciated, but not necessary. We'll continue to answer all your questions, but please consider that if you'd like to get a questionnaire in or you want to support the site.
Grind don't stop. Truth. What a game by our guy Darrell Williams. He's been killing it lately in PPR. He really has been killing it. He's been a very solid guy in my lineup, but obviously this was next level stuff. I was so excited. He had like 18 points, and I was like, this is great. Like, if he doesn't do anything else, he's exceeded expectations. Then Mahomes throws him like a 40-yard touchdown, and I was just like in ecstasy. It was so great. I remember on Thursday we talked about him a lot of questions on him. We said play him Saturday with CJ, same thing. A lot of Darrell Williams questions, and we pretty much routinely said go him, and it panned out big. So we're happy about that. KTC Bull.
All
right.
Guessing you did pretty good this week, KTC Bull.
And Grind says, I don't care if Clyde comes back. I traded him with no regrets. I will continue to throw Darrell in there as a flex play. I hope to be able to keep playing Darrell. We'll see what happens. I'm pissed that his cheese is going to get nibbled because I think he's the better guy. But, I'm not dropping him or anything like that. That's for sure.
No, nor should
you. Aladdin, OBJ or Debo tonight?
You got to go Debo. I really love OBJ moving forward. Could be great, but this is still first week with the team. They'll probably drop a couple deep shots. Let's see if they convert it. Debo's gotten it done all year to top 5 receiver level. Why would you bench that for a hypothetical?
Grind don't stop. Interested to see how Tony plays coming off the bye expectations, more involvement.
I hope so. He should be. My expectation's not, though. I just don't think Jason Garrett's a smart enough human being. When you give Kyle Rudolph like 20% target share and 1% target share for Tony, 1 target that game, like 10 for fucking Rudolph. I don't know. I think he deserves all the world. We've talked about him as one of the most ascending rookie talents in the league right now, but they just don't. When they use him, he gets 189 yards. So let's go give it to Kyle Rudolph instead. Like, makes no sense to me. I'm not hopeful for that.
Mike Clay says D-Well mossed him. He did. I mean, he did.
Yeah, sure did. That was a sick catch.
Josh says, sup, my dudes. I was goosed by Hawkinson and Gesicki. In the leagues. Up 15 with Van Jefferson to play. My opponent has Stafford. Wish me luck.
That's tough. I mean, you get a Van Jefferson bomb and you might win that thing. But, Josh, that's not looking great. I would say 65 your opponent, 35 you. But, hey, you get a bomb from Van, and that flips right to 50-50, maybe even more. So we'll see.
Mike Clay, you can't take D-Will off the field after this performance. If CH comes back, do you think they'll ease him back in? What do you think the splits will be? Mike, I honestly have no idea. Like, I hear the logic of what you're saying and what Grind's saying and what I'm saying and basically what the Wolf is saying too. I just have no idea what they'll do. They have a big investment in CEH, so I'll find out when you find out.
And for the record too, I'm with you guys. Like, Darrell is a better player for this offense right now. I don't know why they wouldn't, but I can't imagine, powers that be, your first round pick, you can't just abandon, I don't imagine. So we'll see. But yeah, the Darrell night, everybody's loving Darrell. Huh?
Well, I've been hyping him, and he says, truth, I'm loving the energy about Darrell. That's my guy. Catch was amazing. Highlight reel for sure. Yep.
Yeah.
Kyle Pitts has been quiet lately. What's going on?
Yeah,
well, if you were on the Falcons, you were quiet this week.
Exactly. Everybody on the Falcons was horrible this week. But that's just a matter of he's getting their number 1 corners every week. They're treating him like the number 1 receiver, as they should be. Calvin Ridley would have been an actual benefit at this point to have him on the roster. You draw like Trayvon Diggs, you draw Lattimore. It's nerve-wracking. I do think when they get a bad secondary, there's still going to be some booms, but it's definitely concerning.
What do you think about rostering Logan Thomas the rest of the season?
I mean, they're still saying like he wasn't even good enough to practice last week. It's probably another week or two till he gets on the field. Ricky Seals-Jones has been playing well. Do they just hand it right back to LT? Probably, but I mean, I don't know. I don't think he's a must-hold by any means. Let's put it that way.
Made the right choice starting the Bills defense over the Cardinals. Yeah, you did.
Oh, yeah. 4 picks. Good shit right there. That's for sure, Grind.
Pittman for James Robinson. I'm low at running back, and my wide receivers are Godwin, AD, and AJ Brown.
I think with those wide receivers, you pull this trigger. Yeah, I think even without the needs, like in a vacuum, would probably rather have J-Rob than Pittman. As good as Pittman is, I like Robinson.
Troy says, interesting comment you had on Mikey Well. I'm in a spot next week where I would have to start Williams or Tony at wide receiver 3. Who you like in that one, Wolf?
I mean, if that's the case, you go for Williams. They're both boom or bust in terms of their usage. So, yeah, I go with that.
I also
OBJ has his first catch. Did that game already start? I thought it was an 8:20 kickoff.
Oh, shit. Sorry, guys, if that's going on. Wolf, go rapid fire.
All righty. We'll rapid fire. Get us on out of here. Up 56 right now against Cup. You're in good spot there. Grind don't stop. As good as Cup is, 56 points. Not happening. Drop one, Taysom for one of Tyrod or Fields. I go Fields, no two. He's getting Detroit. He's rolling like his best ball these last couple of games. I definitely go Fields. Tyrod, useless. So don't so ready to drop McNichols yet. I absolutely agree. 0% roster. No reason to keep that guy around. I wasn't into him anyways. I did think AP was going to be better. He certainly isn't. Foreman's the only guy that's mildly worth rostering there. Very mildly. I have Van Jefferson and Brandon Ayuk. He has Debo. I'm up by 3. Should be good. I don't know about that because Debo's been just that electric all year, and Brandon Ayuk's been so hit or miss tunes. That being said, if you get the Ayuk that's been trending the last couple of weeks, absolutely should be okay. Van Jefferson, you see that role continue to grow tonight. I'm intrigued to see what happens with this receiving core. I'd say you are pretty good, but I would say this is closer to like 55-45 than I think you think it is. If all goes well, 3-1 this week, solid week. I love to hear that tune. Truth, as good. I'm going rapid fire, but our guys calling you out here. Thoughts on the Chiefs passing game on 2nd and goal, not letting Darrell punch it in? Was that pissing you off?
Yeah, it did piss me off, but because that was before he had racked up all those points. But at that point, I was desperate for whatever I could get. Not really surprised. They have so many options from the one.
That's how it's always been. Travis Kelce on little fucking like flea flickers and stupid. They always get way too cute, the one. So as much as it will piss you off and you can deserve to be pissed there, it's going to happen all the time. Who leads the Rams in catches not named Cup? I was going to say Van Jefferson, but it sounds like they already have OBJ getting heavily involved. So we might see. I'll still bet on Van Jefferson myself. 2 points from Higbee. I guess Stafford got picked. From Higbee tonight. Tunes giving me the update. It pops up on my computer.
God, I'm going to be so pissed if I lose this game.
You better get 2 from Higbee. Gesicki 0, though. That's like kind of the reminder that you're not great. Even if you only need 2, you might not get it. There's 8 targets, I think, went his way too. At least 7. How about those Eagles? They're rolling, Denny. We talked about them. If you missed it, rewind to our Jalen Hurts section. They're like number 1 in a ton of offensive efficiency categories. Muy bueno su streaming, Wolf. Thank you, Tomas Medina from Panama. I am muy bueno. I agree. No, I love it, man. Love listening to you guys. Saludos. Saludos back to you, brother.
Yep.
Up 20, he has Henderson, Debo, Kittle. You have Ayuk and Cup. Let's get it. Oh, you're in a good spot there. I mean, you got the 20 points plus Cup. You could only have Cup and you'd still be in a good spot. Love what you got there. Chiefs resorting back to the mean. You're trying to tell us. I get it, Mike. They were just so damn bad. If you told me Jackson Mahomes was going to be gone, maybe I would have games on. Agree. Just told Ramsey I need to pick 6. Go get it. Hopefully it happens for you, brother. Still waiting on that true Braitman. Exactly. Week 11 versus Bears could be it. The guy is so good. Every time he got the looks, he crushed it. It was awesome. Odell got his first. Love to see it. Earlier involvement. Fantasy gods turning over their graves after calling Logan Thomas LT. LT3. Exactly. The third here. Not the real LT, though. Indeed. Awesome, guys. LT was insane. Remember that fantasy season that guy had with like 35 touchdowns or whatever? It was insane. But on your way out, you want to hit that thumbs up button, whether you made it all the way through in the replay, whether you're here with us live the whole time. We love you guys. GroceryJournal.com is where we breed and feed you fancy wolves. You can find all our content as the week goes on. I'm the Wolf.
I'm the Truth.
Hope you get what you need tonight, Truth. Hope you get that W, and we'll chat soon. Later, Wolfpack.